if this one works, I'll work with this. I'm good with this one. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the invitation to come and share our story. I certainly think when you walk on the western boundaries of the campus today, you're probably wondering what the hell is going on down there. We're going to just share what is happening, and we're going to show you the future. We're going to show you what this thing will look like when it opens its doors. As Alan mentioned, we have to be done by April 2018. The gun has gone off and we need to move. And as a result of that, construction is well underway. Our task as a design team is to keep ahead of construction. That means that as the wave of construction activity continues, we need to be ahead of that and complete our work. So we're kind of riding the wild horse, trying to stay ahead. And the intention is to be ready and open in 2018. When we started out, we talked a little bit about what the vision for this new center will be. And I just wanted to reinforce that. The intention is to provide a vibrant, dynamic undergraduate hub on campus, supporting both the academic and the social needs of students, and improving the interactions with faculty and staff. We know that it's a building that's going to contain environmental science, but it also carries the label of international partnership. And I just want to explain from my perspective, what does that really mean? And here is a set of images that really reflect on what that means. If students come to Royal Roads and they're worlds apart and they arrive here, there's a moment when they touch, when they first arrive at Royal Roads, and it's our hope that during that time they connect and they begin to share experiences here. And ultimately, through their undergraduate program, there's a time of bonding, an ability to bond with their fellow students, their faculty, and to bond with this university. With the ultimate aim that when they leave, when they graduate, there's a moment when they actually become global citizens, really sensitive to the needs of others. If we create a facility that meets that objective of international partnership, then we have succeeded. So what does that mean in terms of the life of the Muse? The Muse has had a very checkered history over the life of this university. And we're about to turn a page in its history, turn it to a point where we're at a point of transition. As you know, the original building was here to support the Dunsmuir estate. It was actually the stable block. It then transitioned in the era of motor vehicles to the main garage. And then it went over to the D&D uses, and ultimately it has come under the auspices of Royal Roads as a conference center. Today, we're marking a transition as we move forward to its new role as an undergraduate hub. It contains, or will contain, approximately 11 new classrooms, some teaching laboratories, and a research lab. A number of meeting and breakout spaces, some socialization spaces for students, faculty and staff offices, and what we're terming a student collegium, and I'll talk about that a little more in a second. So I think it's important to recognize that although there's a programmatic need to provide all of those rooms I just listed, that actually if it's to be successful, both for students and faculty, it's actually about the spaces in between. We know that learning is everywhere in our lives, and the opportunities for students to engage and connect and socialize in and around this facility is vital to its success. And therefore, as architects, we think very carefully about the spaces, the connective spaces between the program need, and make sure that they're as successful as the teaching environment. That also helps to support the notion of connection and social interaction between students, particularly in an international partnership environment where we're pulling together students from all parts of the world. How do we encourage them to participate? How do we encourage them to feel a sense of belonging to the university? And how can the architectural solutions support that? So we want to provide social interaction and social spaces in the building, and that sets forth a set of aspirations. And I quickly want to run through these. So the new building really should be about community. It should be inclusive, it should be welcoming to every student, and accessible in every sense, both intellectually, culturally, and physically. We want to create a sense of wonder. We actually want people to have a sense of wow when they arrive here. This is important. The level of engagement should be high, it needs to be interactive, it should be thought-provoking, it should be fun. It should be somewhere that they want to be. The sense of connection that I responded to earlier would be relevant to students' lives today. It creates ways for people to learn and to explore together through shared experience. And the notion of innovation, we should be offering programs that are surprising, delightful, sparking inspiration and creativity. If we do that, this would be wonderful. And we also have a sense of stewardship. There's a responsibility for us to care for the heritage and the cultural resources that have been entrusted to us, and we need to respect that. So I talked about connection, and I think opportunities for connection within the new building are vital to its ability for students to have a really powerful university experience. And in doing so, it supports some emotional needs. It should be welcoming. It should be a social space. The environment and the staff are friendly. Everyone is invited. And the content and the happenings here are accessible and relevant to the lives of students. And it should be progressive. It supports modern issues. It welcomes all students and cultures to share and participate. That's what we hope for. And it should be vibrant. This space should be a place filled with activity. It should not be just simply a dead zone. We want it to have life. There is always something engaging or exciting to see and do there. And imaginative creativity and learning thrives around stories and shared experience. It's absolutely vital in international partnership and in terms of the environment. And ultimately, curiosity is important. How do we encourage learning? So I think about this, and I think about the nature of buildings and what it means in a student and academic environment. And what we naturally see is that life is at the edges. What I mean by that is it's very natural for people to migrate to the edges of spaces. That's where they feel more comfortable. In a large room like this, if I gave you the choice, people would probably want to choose and sit at the edges, not sit in the middle and be observed. So it's important, therefore, not to give the type of spaces where people can really feel comfortable at the edges. And, of course, it has to be about spaces where you choose to linger. It's important in this type of environment when students are here from all parts of the world, often staying with homestay families, that they come to campus and we want to give them a home away from home, give them an opportunity to linger. And this is an example of a project that we've recently completed at UBC, the Alumni Center. You can see here there's a space where simply it provides for casual encounter, places to sit and reside. But at the same moment, this same space can adapt and change to a place of gathering, because this building has to allow for that use as well. It's actually about social connection in a larger group, giving students the opportunity to connect with faculty, both from the day they arrive to the day they leave. And so providing an opportunity for both levels of engagement is really important. And of course, you can't forget that notion of that moment to be quiet, to be reflective and to be focused in your learning. And we mustn't forego that. That's still a vital component. When I think about the current students and the type of students that will be arriving at Royal Roads, we know that the way they learn and the way they work and the way they occupy space is changing. They think about the world differently than I do, and they like to adapt. They like to be able to own the way they work within their spaces. And I think it's important that we recognize that, and we allow them, actually, the freedom to adapt their space. This is not a rigid environment. This is somewhere where they can choose to occupy it the way they can. And on top of that, we're actively adding into the program a space we're calling the Collegium. This is a social, informal space for students to go. It will have a kitchen. It will have an opportunity to prep simple meals. It's somewhere, in fact, where they can literally socialize. And particularly if they're here from afar, it gives them the opportunity to connect through social activity. We know that language is a struggle, is a problem. And if we don't reinforce the ability for them to have a social connection through food, symbols, community, they're going to feel far more connected than simply trying to get them to connect through language alone. So let's talk about the building, and we clearly have to respect the heritage. We're on a National Historic Site. The building, although of not prime importance, is historically important relative to the history of this place, and we need to respect that, and therefore the building is largely going to remain as you see it today. It will be enhanced, improved, but the changes are largely internal, not external. And really this is about marking a transition between putting a modern, contemporary learning environment inside an old heritage building. And I think once you step through the door, it's important to provide a sense of the modern, of the contemporary, that you're here in this moment, in this era, and that is actually what creates vibrancy for this generation. And so the two things in combination are important. Here's an aerial view of the proposed building when it's completed. You can see that the Muse is in the foreground, and there is a central courtyard, an arrival courtyard, where you enter the building. The building itself is quite formal. It's this U-shaped building, and the formality creates a natural point of entry. And the newer addition, which contains the classrooms and the labs, extends out at the back of the building. And the reason for that is very deliberate. It's intended so that the addition is not dominant or over influences the original building. We want to retain the integrity of the original building. And so the building extends down into the landscape on the south side, and we open up that landscape to the learning environment. Here's another view as we rotate around. You'll notice that the area on the left of the Muse is currently occupied by a parking area. There's certainly an opportunity that Alan mentioned to improve that, to provide some kind of outdoor learning environment, supported directly by classrooms which are immediately adjacent to that. There are some other limitations on the site that have created reasons to put the new addition there. There are environmental setbacks that we have to respect to the streams that are in the area, and we're trying to limit the amount of material that is cleared in order to accommodate the building, for the simple fact that the building should be engaged and directly connected to the landscape around it. After all, it is a school of environmental science. So here's a sketch of the proposed building. The Muse is on the right, the new addition next to it. You'll see that the Muse has been designed architecturally to replicate some of the symbols and some of the forms of the original building in terms of the pitched roof and the dormers, but they've been interpreted in a very deliberate contemporary way. That's important because this is not about simply replicating heritage. It's about recognizing that the heritage is there, but is supported by a modern contemporary university. Here's a couple more views. As you rotate around the building, you'll see that the areas immediately adjacent to the building at the back will be available for outdoor space to be enjoyed on the west sunny side of the building. Here's another view. And here's a rendering of how that will be seen from the parking lot side. The labs will be located on the lower level, the classrooms on the upper level. So finally, I just want to take you on a journey. This is how this building will feel as a student arriving here today. So the first thing to say is that the immediate courtyard will be enhanced. It's definitely an area symbolizing arrival, and it will actually create an outdoor space where students can gather as well. It actually captures the sun quite beautifully and is actually a very nice place to be. At the moment, it's hard surfaced. We're going to be changing that and improving that, adding some simple planting into the space to provide some shade areas, but actually maintaining a very simple resolution of that courtyard. And here is a short video that shows you the general feel, and it will actually walk you through the building. So I'm just going to be quiet for a moment. You'll notice on that series of images, there's not a lot of detail there. We're still developing some of the finer grain detail. But what that journey represented is that you arrive through that main entry into a social hub, a gathering space immediately inside the original muse. And then there's an opportunity to turn and walk around and cross over this bridge that connects you with the new addition at the back. And then as you walk across that bridge, you have views down to the lower academic level. And as you pass across, to your right, you'll see an opportunity to open up to the landscape around. And there provides the opportunity for social interaction for students, that life at the edges that I was speaking about. And behind on that view is where the classroom. So that's where you would come and go from the classroom environment. This is the view of that gathering space. Again, it's adaptable. The intention is to provide it day to day, somewhere where you can linger, but also provides the opportunity for gathering. And really the connection, you can see here the view through to the new addition. The bridge connection across, and to the left of that is a stair that descends and takes you down to the lower level where the labs are. And that also provides an opportunity to exit out into the landscape on the lower level. Again, we're going to provide opportunities for students to just camp out here, give them an opportunity to occupy the space they choose. And then as we move down into the areas at the back of the building is really providing that sense of connection out to the environment and providing a sense where students can actually create a life for themselves on campus. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions at all, I am going to be here later for the open house. Happy to share any comments and hear your feedback, and we'll take it from there. Thank you.